I'm Ryan Osbeck with Copeland Canada, representing Filter Manufacturing. Let's get into it. The compressor coupling alignment. This is a task that needs to be done during commissioning of new equipment, reinstallation, or when you're putting a compressor back in, or you took the motor out, you're putting the motor back in, you need to realign your compressor. And also, once a year, it's a good practice to get into to check the alignment of your equipment, just to make sure nothing has changed over the years, or possibly if someone's made a mistake in a previous alignment and you've had some mild vibrations that weren't necessarily alarming, but can definitely be corrected, checking the alignment is a good practice to always get into. This machine has been sitting cold for a while. It's already been aligned, but I'm just going to go over the basics of how to do an alignment. Now, I've moved on from dials and have taken up lasers. I use here in Canada the Pruftechnik. It's a Fluke brand, but the Shaft Alignment Touch. I do really like this one. It's simple and easy to use, but it's not the only option available. There are other options available, and they are good options. But I do like the lasers more for their, not just for their accuracy, but I definitely appreciate the lasers for their reporting abilities. So as you input the information or collect, as the device collects the information and you make changes and alterations, you can't change the information. You can't change the outcome. So you can't fudge a number and make it look better than it is. When it has to be right, with a laser, it has to be right. You can't change it. And I do appreciate that by far when it comes to alignments. And I know your customers will likely appreciate that too, getting a nice professional report done up that they know hasn't been altered, hasn't been changed, just to make the job look good. So with the Pruftechnik, you have the two, you get the reflector and the laser. But there are a couple ways of putting it on. I like these magnets. Magnet mounts are great, but they also have the chain mounts, so the chain lock, so you can go right to a shaft or coupling hub. These are a great tool as well, great device. I just really appreciate the simplicity of the magnet, especially with something like this, where we have this large inertia wheel mounted onto this compressor. I can put the one side on with a longer shaft, just a quick, and then I can do the same thing on the other side, just mount it into place, and it just slips on. I don't have to worry about change. That is a tight fit. Ideally, you want to make sure those V-notches are sitting down and all the way in. It's really where you want it. I like to put the reflector on the piece that's going to be getting moved. Mount the reflector, the laser. Now this is a nice kit because everything is wireless. The only downside is you have to make sure it's charged up and ready to go before you leave. So once you set it in, you're going to get this crosshair located on the reflector. So crosshair, this is going to beam a light into it, and we're just going to set it up, get it nice and close. Just get it for that initial measurement. Now, when you set these up, you're going to have to input some information. You're going to have to input the center-to-center distance of these stands, the center distance from your laser to the middle of your coupling, from the middle of your coupling to your front foot, the bolt, and then your bolt center to center And also, they're going to want to know the RPM and the diameter of your coupling. Turn this up and move it over. A nice, quick, simple one is with, again, the thing I like is once you've input this information, you just move on and you go to the measurement. Well, the measurement's nice. It'll give you a center lock on it. And we can do motor moves. So we can tell where that, I'm already off on this laser. So I'm just going to give it a quick recenter. I'm going to get this nice and tight, well within this box. I like putting it right dead center if I can, right on the crosshairs. The reason why I like putting it right on the crosshairs is because when you have it directly on the crosshair, if you stay within that box and that measurement, especially during a hot alignment, you're really close, and that's ideal. But just looking at that box as you take your measurements, you're going to be able to see that you have some improvements to be made pretty much immediately. So now that we got the laser centered, we're ready to do that first roll. Again, what's really nice is we only have to actually take 3 positions. 3 positions at a minimum. That's all we need for an accurate or relatively accurate number. A 4 position maximum for this device is all it requires is 4 locations. But again, what's really nice is any 4 locations. I can take just these top 3 locations on the upper 90 degrees. If I can't get a full rotation, say I have pipe blocking me and it's preventing me from going all the way that way, I can take measurements off of 270 degrees or 180 degrees. I don't have to take the full 360 degree rotation to get a good reading and accurate measurement. And with that, we'll start with a reading. We'll take that first measurement right there. It's reading 1. We'll come down to 90 degrees. I'll take reading 2. I'll come and take all the way down to 180, top and bottom here. That'll be my 3rd reading. And then I'll swing up, and I won't go all the way, I'll go past 90, and I'll take a nice angular reading as well. And that'll be my final reading. We're going to get our total results. Are going to come in. Nice total result on that. And then we can pick it up and it gives us our report. Everything is within 1/1000th of an inch. And that is a very satisfactory reading. Now, with it being a cold alignment, we know we're going to get some thermal growth. We might have to come back and do an alteration. But if we're within 2/1000ths on all measurements. On a cold alignment, we are in a good position and a good spot to be. That's ideally where we want to be before we're heading into a hot alignment where we go for a start. Now we're going to see some thermal growth, of course. The motor is going to grow a little bit of heat. The compressor is going to grow for heat. This is a heat pump compressor of all things. So you know this machine is going to get hot. We're going to see some growth. With this compressor, however, the separator is actually a vertical separator mounted behind it. So we're not going to get thermal growth on the base to grow up on everything as well. So we'll get a little bit of less growth. It will be more stringent to just the compressor, just the motor. So we should actually see a little bit less thermal growth, which is good. But again, when you do a cold alignment, you'll come in, once you get everything up and running, now everything has to be at operating temp. So this could take up to 12 hours, if not longer. Sometimes a day. Requires a full day before you can come back and do a hot alignment. I've told customers before 500 hours, come back within 500 hours and check it. But of course, that depends on how much vibration you have at that initial start. If you're not vibrating, you just want to come back and do a check later. This is just a regular check and inspection. So I want to make sure that we're relatively close to what we were at last time. And again, a nice thing about these and lasers, we have that report. It's right here in this device, and I can go back and refer to it. Are lasers the future? Yeah, they are. Is there anything wrong with dials? No, there isn't. Especially if you know how to use them. If you're comfortable and if you're good with the math, dials are great. There's nothing wrong with a dial, and you should be okay with using it. But I do like the lasers, and what I love the most about the lasers is the reporting. You can't change the number, you can't change the information. The results that you get are the results that you're able to give. You can't change and alter them, not unless you get creative and start changing and altering the entire document with an editor, in which case, now you're just being dishonest. If you're fudging, but changing, that is definitely just dishonesty, and your customers won't appreciate it, and you shouldn't appreciate that either. Trust is where it's at. And with the lasers and with the new devices, you get that trust. You can't change the numbers. It's what you get. They're accurate. They're easy to use. I've had some practice, of course. I've been using lasers for a long time throughout my career. I've only actually ever used dials a handful of times. So am I biased there? Yeah. Did I really like using dials? No. Definitely like the laser. And I think once you get comfortable with the laser, you're going to like it too.